Okay, so I have notes. I always have notes because I like to stay on track. And I feel like when you write stuff down, that is a good way to make sure that you don't miss anything. I don't want to miss anything. So today we are going over Business 101, right? Everything that you need to do. If you have an idea and you have not started at all, what are the steps that you need to take to get your business up and running, right? Also, if you want to drop your business idea in the chat, we're going to go over those. I'll give you any advice or tips or tools or whatever I have also. So let's get started. Okay, so phase one in starting your business is you need to get clarity. You really need to figure out exactly what you want to do, why you want to do it, what is the purpose behind what you want to do. Is that a long-term business goal? Is that a short-term business goal? What are you going to do with this business? Just get clarity on overall what you want to do. I always tell people you should only have one passion business. The rest of your businesses should be for reliability purposes. They should just make sense, right? Having a laundromat just makes sense. We know people need to wash clothes. Nobody I've ever heard of has this goal or this like dream to be a laundromat business owner, right? You do it because it makes sense, right? Not because it's this big passion project. You love washing machines. You know, it's not that. It makes sense. Parking lots, that's another one. It just makes sense, right? I don't know who is like a parking lot aficionado, but you get a parking lot because everybody has to park somewhere, right? So of course you're gonna make money off of it. So figure that out, right? Figure out if your business is gonna be a passion business or a purpose-driven business, right? I always also suggest that your first business is not a passion business because you really don't want to fumble through something that's your passion, right? You want to have the money and the resources and the time and the energy to put all your good energy into your passion project business. But to buy a parking lot, maybe you just got $10,000 laying around and you want to get a parking lot. So that's what you do. So you also have to determine if you want a product-based business or if you want a service-based business. Product-based businesses, a lot of times you're going to have inventory. So make sure that's something that you take into consideration. You're going to need to probably have money to pay for the inventory up front, right? To probably have money to pay for the inventory up front, right? So keep that in mind. Service-based businesses are going to be a little bit easier, but it might be harder to get people in, right? I think that's something that a lot of people gloss over. If somebody wants a tangible item, it's a lot easier to talk them into going to get that tangible item from you. Somebody wants a service, it is a little bit harder because although you can tell them what you provide, it is very much different than seeing what is actually going to be provided, right? You also have to identify who your target audience is, identify what problem that they have, and identify what problem you're solving for them, right? You want to make sure that you know what your niche is, right? And your niche is not your industry, right? Those are two different things. If you are in the t-shirt industry, your niche in the t-shirt industry is maybe high quality t-shirt company that is for children, right? Let's say that is your niche. You want to make sure that your niche is something that is very unique, that stands out, that can make you, just set you apart from other businesses. You want to make sure you know your competition, right? Who is in your niche? Who is outside of your niche? What other niches in your industry are doing really well? What other niches in your industry are not doing really well, right? So that lets you know where you should not be, okay? And then also make sure that you are committed to like the planning of everything. I know that is daunting. I know that is tedious, but legalities are important. Planning is important. Those two things are going to be essential if you want your business to last. If you want this to be something that is sustainable for some long period of time, you need to be legal and you need to have a plan. right? Because anytime you're going to go get money, they're going to ask you for those two things. Anytime you're going to want to go work with a business, they're going to ask you for those two things. So make sure you have that, right? So that's phase one. Phase two is all the legal stuff kind of going into that. A lot of people get businesses and they start running businesses and you ain't got a lick of paperwork. Government don't even know you exist. Therefore, you don't have a business. You have some stuff that you are selling to people as a hustle. And hustling is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I actually suggest for everybody to run their business before they do the legal stuff so they can get proof of concept, right? Because if nobody's going to buy your stuff or nobody wants your product, it might not be worth you turning this business into a legal entity. That's something that you really need to take the time to figure out to see if that's even worth doing, right? Because, for example, in California, LLC is $800. What if your business doesn't make $800? Then you're kind of just out of that $800. So you really need to think about that. You want to make sure that you are taking all of the steps to minimize your costs for all of your legal stuff. You want to make sure that you are taking the steps to not get any penalties for not having certain legal stuff. And you also want to make sure that you're doing everything that you need to do to make sure that all of your legal entities are set up the correct way, right? They don't necessarily have to be in the state that you reside in. So that is not technically the right way. If you plan on moving in 5 years, where are you going to be in 5 years? Look at having your business there, you know? You also want to make sure that you are picking something that's available. A lot of people, to my point about people having hustles that are not businesses, they have never gone on the state website to see if that business name is even available, right? So what if your business name is taken? Now you just created a whole business that you've been running for the last 3, 4, 5, 6 months, and there's another business with that exact name. So what are you going to do? Are you going to change it legally, you know, and then just have everybody call you something else? Or are you going to change your business name completely? What do you do at that point? So make sure you go to your state's website and look up your business name to see if it's available. You also can go and see if the state website has your name, your business name as a sole proprietor, as an LLC, as a corporation, right? Because that could be a differentiator if someone already has your business name. But then that leads into the next thing you need to worry about, which is how are you going to set up your business? Is it going to be an LLC? Is it going to be a sole proprietor? Do you want to do an S Corp? Do you even need to do any of those things, right? Every business doesn't need to be an LLC. I know that is a big misconception, right? Your business needs to be an LLC if there are certain things that you want to protect, especially yourself as an entity. But every business doesn't necessarily need to be an LLC, right? Because there are a lot of costs associated with having an LLC. There's a lot of work associated with having an LLC. There's lots of documents and paperwork that you need to turn in. So if that is not exactly what you need, right, then don't go through all of that. Do what you need. You can always change it at a later date, right? So for example, if right now you sign up and you get a sole proprietor and then you decide that you're going to move to another state and you want to get an LLC, you could change your business to an LLC at a later date. You don't have to do that right now up front if you don't want to, right? If that's not an imperative requirement right now. Oh, excuse me. Next thing you need to do is you need to get your EIN. If you're running a business and you don't have an EIN, you're not running a business. You are hustling. You are selling shit as a side hustle. That is not a business. You need an EIN. The EIN is super easy to get. Super easy. It takes maybe like 10-15 minutes. You can only access the website during the day. So do not go like in the middle of the night or thinking, you know, if you're working like late hours, it's not going to allow you to access it. You have to access it during the day. But you get your EIN super easy. That's something that you have to do. Excuse me. And honestly, that should be done before you even start looking into if you want to do a sole proprietor or an LLC, right? You should not have an LLC and not have an EIN. That makes no sense, okay? The next thing that you want to focus on is your business account. Once you have your business entity legal, then you could get a business banking account. Once you get a business banking account, you need to sign up for business credit, which is completely different than regular credit, right? You need to get a DUNS number. You need to get business credit. Once you get business credit, then that's when you could get business credit cards, right? And at that point, you should not be putting anything on your personal credit cards or using your personal funds at all whatsoever, right? And I would say this process should normally take not that long. I would say maybe like 2 months tops. It is really easy for a business to get business credit in comparison to a person getting personal credit, right? It's really not it's not as hard. You could get a credit card fairly easy. You could go get a car under your business name fairly easy. You just have to make sure that your business has a business bank account and that your business has business credit. Otherwise, who is the car reporting to, right? You want to make sure that you're getting, same thing with your personal credit. When you put stuff on your personal credit and you get it reporting all of those good things, you want all of those good reports on your business credit also. So your personal credit, the way to tell if it's good or not, it has numbers. We know the 700s is really high, right? We know 300s is really low, right? But in business credit, there are letters. So A is good, so on and so forth, right? So you want to make sure that your business credit stays A or B at least, so you don't abuse that. Anything that is not business, don't put on your business credit. Anything that's not personal, don't put on your personal credit. Put on your business credit. Anything that's not personal, don't put on your personal credit. Okay? And then the last thing that you need to make sure you do from like a legal standpoint is make sure you have some type of tracking system for all of your funds, your income, your payments to any employees or contractors, anything like that that you do. And also with your business account. So the business account that I have, I use Found. If anybody wants the referral code for Found, let me know. But basically, they help me itemize every single thing. So when I go to do my taxes, I don't have to take all of my charges and put them like on a spreadsheet or anything and itemize them. I do it in the app every single time I make a purchase, right? So if I buy dinner, it'll ask me, all right, categorize this meal, right? And I'll either categorize it as personal or I'll categorize it as a business meal. It'll have me put the reason or the purpose in there. It'll have me upload the receipt in there. So it's everything that the IRS needs, and it'll put it right into the metadata for each of the charges. And then you just print it out at the end of the year and give it to your tax person. So Found makes it super, 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 super easy. If you don't have a business bank account, you are doing business wrong, right? So let's just keep that in mind. Okay, next thing, phase 3, the third part, branding. You want to make sure that your branding stands out, that it is unique, that it is different, that you are not cookie cuttering something somebody else did. I know nobody's reinventing the wheel, but you also don't want to be a version of something that somebody else is already doing. That's boring, right? And that's why. Don't do that. Be unique. Try to figure out what your colors are that's unique to you. Figure out your logo that's unique to you. Get a designer. Really work with them to figure out like what you want this to embody. What energy do you really want to give off with your logo, right? What do you want your logo to say? Do you want it to be simple? Do you want it to be letters? Do you want it to have a stamp version and a signature version and like all of these different versions, right? Because you know logos come in packages now. It's just not your base logo. It's all these different versions of your logo. So just make sure you keep that in mind when you are determining what you want to do. That also goes into the voice of your website, of your content that you put out, of your social media page. What do you want that to look like, right? What do you want your company purpose to be? What do you want your mantra to be? What do you want the description? If somebody is like, well, tell me about your business, you know? So for example, I would say my business is Establishing Success Consulting, and we actually help people create residual income and start additional streams of income that can help them create generational wealth, right? So that's what my business does. I help people create generational wealth. I help you work from home. I help you work from Thailand. I help you, get income that you can make online, that you don't have to physically be at a desk 8 hours a day to make money from. You want to figure out what your brand's mission is, what your brand's tagline is, right? Like, so for example, mine is, oh my goodness, I forgot. Oh my goodness, I forgot. Okay, I gotta go figure that out. Oh my goodness, that is gonna wreck my brain. It's a Lil Wayne line. I can't think of it right now. But, I ain't got no worries, right? Because I feel like a lot of times when I was at my job, I used to be worried about everything, right? And none of that stuff mattered. None of that stuff benefited me or helped my health or anything like that, right? So my new thing is I don't have any worries. If it starts to worry me, I let it go, right? If I can't figure it out, I let it go. And I try to work on things in a way where I don't feel worried. And worry doesn't mean like frightful necessarily. It just means like unchecked energy, right? Because once you check your energy, we know we're good, right? So just unchecked energy. So yeah, so you want to make sure that you have your domain name, and that goes into back to what I was saying at the beginning about knowing if your business is even available, right? Because if you have a business you want to call, it's called like the Pottery New York, right? Well, let's say there's already a business called the Pottery New York, and they already have the website for thepotterynewyork.com, then what do? Right? So you want to check all of that out ahead of time. You want to make sure that you have an email. So my advice to everybody when you're starting off is to do as many free options for things as you can. There is nothing worse than you having bills for business that you haven't even started bringing in money from yet, right? So I personally think it's okay to have a free Gmail email address, right? When you are ready to switch to Zoho or something else, you can. Zoho is also free if you wanted to do that. You just buy your domain. I can provide you guys a website where you could get the domain for like $99, not $99, 99 cents a month. So it's like $1 a month for the domain. Same thing with the websites. You could get free websites off of Canva. You don't need to pay Shopify $40 a month or whatever it is. So, and then you could just pay for the domain for your website and link that to Shopify. So don't feel like you have to do a bunch of stuff that's going to be really costly up front. Do anything that you can remotely think would be cost effective, right? And this marketing, work on your marketing. If you are not good at marketing, look up some videos, do your research, figure out what your audience really likes, figure out the best way to speak to them, figure out the best way to grab their attention, because everybody is selling similar stuff, right? But everybody doesn't have the same product. I know for a fact that what I give is going to be completely different than what everybody else gives. Right? Because I know the energy I put into it. I know what you're going to get from me. And I know for a fact that I care about your success, right? Everybody doesn't have that same concept. So hit on the things that you know people are going to care about. There are lots of people who signed up for programs and have different coaches and everything. And they said that the coaches didn't really help them. And that's why my program is one-on-one, right? There's no way you're not going to get to talk to me. You're only talking to me, right? I think a lot of programs are cookie cutter. I don't offer any cookie cutter options, right? The only way to go through my program is for the program to be custom tailored to you. That's it, right? I'm not going to give you the person before you program, and I'm not going to give you the person after you program. Everybody has a completely different curriculum and way that we're going to go about setting up your business, right? Because you have a different business, you have a different niche, you have a different audience, you have a different goal, you have a different outcome, right? Next is your online presence. That kind of goes right from marketing right into that. So you need to make sure that your landing page or your website is in alignment with your social media, that your colors are the same, your fonts are the same, the energy is the same, the vibe is the same. You want to make sure that your stuff is really identifiable when people see it, right? They're like, is this the right website? Like, oh no, it has these colors, or no, it has this font, or no, I see her picture. Like certain things about it that are going to make you very, very identifiable, right? You want to make sure you have social media, websites, email, a booking system or a contact form if you're doing like services. You want to make sure that you have a Google page. That is super, super, super important. It's very easy to get. It's a little time consuming because they do verification, but they basically are just going to have you take a picture of like your surroundings, of wherever your business is going to be. And then once they verify it, you'll be on Google, right? And then once you're on Google, you're going to be visible to other people, which is exactly what you want, right? You want people who are not in your city, who are not in your town, who are not close by, who do not know about you, who didn't hear about you from a friend, to be able to find you, right? That is the goal. So the Google listing is very, 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 very important from a marketing perspective. And I will follow Google by saying, also get a Yelp, because I've had a ridiculous amount of people find me on Yelp as well. Right? And those are two things that I did not have to do like any real marketing for or any real effort or energy for. It's kind of just there. People find me because they're interested. All right, next, phase 5. Figuring out what you're offering, right? How do you want to bundle your service or bundle your products in a way that makes sense for everybody, right? It makes sense for you financially, to where you get money off the product plus your time, or the service, including your time, and make sure that it's good for them, right? That the client feels like they are getting what they need out of this, that they are feeling like they learned what they need to learn, the service that said that it was going to be provided, that it was provided, just making sure that everything that you promised, you delivered. And making sure you gave them a little more, right? Because that's always an amazing, dope thing to do, is to give people more than what they thought they were going to get, right? So there's lots of things that I don't mention in my program that you will end up walking away with, because I want you to feel like you got more than what you paid for. You want to figure out your core offer, right? Like, what is your main thing that you're going to offer? And then what are these other little options, right? So I have my main coaching program. It's like 2 different options. It's a basic one and it's an advanced one, right? And then I have a bunch of other little options, like a brand audit and things like that, for people maybe who aren't ready to invest in like the whole program. Then you want to make sure that your pricing is in alignment with the industry, right? So if you wanted to sell t-shirts, and there are lots of companies selling the same t-shirts, and they are $50, right? But you want to sell yours for $200. You have to give value to make sense out of that $200 t-shirt, right? That's not an unfeasible concept if it really is the best quality shirt, right? It has the best quality design. It's the best this and the best that, right? If you were really putting all of that into whatever your product is, then you can charge whatever you want for it. You just have to make sure that that added value is really there, and that not only you see it, but people recognize it. You want to make sure your profit margins are good. This is something that a lot of people don't consider. Your profit margin should be about 50% of the cost of your product. So if your hourly rate, your hourly rate is $400 an hour, and then the curriculum that you're providing on top of the hourly rate. Let's say that is an extra $200. So that's $600 an hour. There should be 50% profit margin on everything that you're doing. So then that means that should be about $1,200 is what you should be charging for that in order for you to get a 50% profit margin. So really keep that in mind when you are making your prices. Don't just look at costs for the items required. Look at costs for your time. Look at costs for your energy. Look at costs for transportation, like back and back. Travel, a lot of times people don't figure that in, but you really should, right? If it's going to take you an hour to get there and an hour to get back because of traffic, that's something that you should be figuring into the total cost of the price. You want to make sure that you have whatever you need to deliver your product or service, right? So if you need poly mailers to ship, if you need Google Drive, let's say you're a photographer, right? And you want to use Google Drive to send over your photos, or you want to use Pixel, or you want to use Adobe, you want to use any of those programs, you got to make sure you have that already set up ahead of time so that when you get customers and you start taking pictures, that you could go ahead and send them over when they're ready, right? You don't have to worry about figuring out what program you're going to use after the fact. You want to make sure it can hold your photos. You want to test out everything you have, every website, every program, every app. Test it out. Don't think you're just going to use Google Drive because you use Google Drive for everything else, and then you go to try to upload a client's pictures, and it just doesn't work. So make sure that you are doing something that is feasible, that's going to have a longevity in your process, at least for what you need it for, right? I don't mean like for 10 years, right? But I do mean that if you're going to be doing this for 6 months before you decide that you want to invest more into it, then you need to make sure that you have enough space to last you that time. Like, that literally is the only thing that makes sense. So just be mindful of that, right? Be very mindful. And then you want to make sure that your first thing that you do is some type of like mini launch special. Just to let everybody know, like, hey, I'm new, I'm out here, like, get us while we're a little low, get us while there's a little discount. It definitely gets people going, it gets people talking about it. It gives people a reason to try it, right, at a lower cost, because they know they might not get this opportunity again. If it's something that they're really interested in, you should take advantage of that. All right, so that's offer development. That was number 5. Number 6, part 6 is your marketing. This is really, 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 really important, because this could be the make or break between whatever you do, right? You want to identify your pain points, your target audience. Now, we talked about this up at the top, right? But the difference between what you did before with identifying them, now you want to target them, right? So before, we identified our audience, which means we wanted to figure out who we were supposed to be talking to. Now it's time to talk to them, right? What does that look like? What are you saying to them? What is trending? What would be a good topic to bring up? What would be a good thing to sell right now? For example, like Labubu is really popular, right? So if there's anything that was like Labubu themed or similar or whatever, I'm sure the people who were interested would go for it. Streaming is really popular right now, right? So maybe there's some accessory for streaming or something that you could sell. Figure out what is trending, what is popular, what people are looking for, and angle your marketing voice that direction, right? Because what worked last year might not work this year, and what you want to do in here might not be what your target audience wants you to say to them. You want to make sure that you have like your first 30 days of marketing like TTG. You want to make sure that it's set. You want to make sure that you have everything for your content, for your planning, for your flyers, for your educational stuff, any promotional stuff. You want to just make sure it's done. Lead magnets, emails, everything. You want to make sure that you are set up on every possible avenue that you could remotely think about, okay, before you launch. You want to get in Facebook groups, make sure the Facebook groups know about you. Even if you want to start your own Facebook group, do that, right? But make sure that you are engaging, that people have like seen you. They know your name, they know your business, they know your face, they know something, right? That it's been out there in the community. It's been out there in your niche audience, right? So for example, if you sell custom Tesla steering wheel covers, right? You definitely want to be in the Tesla groups because those are your target audience, right? Now, I'm not saying go in there and be like, hey, y'all, I sell steering wheel covers, right? But maybe somebody is like, oh, I wish I had a steering wheel cover, you know, made by a black girl. You can just be like, oh my gosh, I sell them. Here's the link to my website, right? But you got to be TTG. You got to be ready to go, trained to go, TTG, trained to go. In order for that to work when you do see opportunities to market yourself naturally in that way. So just have all of that ready. Have all of it nice and organized. So also, whenever you decide that you're going to get help with your social media, you could just easily hand it off. They already have everything that they need. It's going to be nice and clean and organized for them. Make sure that you start creating templates for your Instagram and your Pinterest. Templates are very easy because then you just plug and play, right? You have maybe like 5 or 7 templates that you use and you kind of just alternate them. Templates will make your job so much easier. Canva is going to be your friend. DaVinci, what is it called? Resolve. Yeah, DaVinci Resolve is the new thing that everybody's using instead of CapCut. So if you are not familiar with that, definitely take some time to get familiar with that because you're probably going to have to do lots of photo and video editing. If you are not an editor, take some time to study up on that because a lot of your job is going to be editing if you're not hiring somebody else to do it, right? So that's something that you should start just feeling comfortable doing because you got to get done. Okay, so that was step 6. Last step. Okay, so everything I do, all my programs, my philosophy, my thought process, everything I do with Establishing Success Consultant is broken down into 7 steps. I just feel like 7 is a number of completion. 7 is like the divine number. So we do everything in 7. So number 7 is your sales and growth strategy, right? So marketing is telling people about you, right? Sales is selling them on you once they know you exist. So that's the difference. So you want to make sure that you have a sales funnel and a buyer journey, right? So that's what we were talking about having your website or your link tree. If you are having people find you on Instagram, you need to have a link in your bio that sends them to your website or sends them somewhere that they can get more information or sends them somewhere where they can purchase whatever your product or service is. You also want to make sure that in addition to your business, right, which mind you, the first business is not a passion project. It is a purpose project. Then your second business is a passion project, but you want to make sure that you also have just some residual streams of income, right? So that means putting money in like stocks and bonds, putting money in investment properties, something that's just going to sit and accrue, right? You don't have to do much watching to it or anything like that, and it's not going to fluctuate too much, right? You also want to set up payment processing systems. A lot of people are accepting payments. They don't have a payment processing system. This is going to get you caught up because the government is going to ask you to produce the ways in which you collected money, and they're going to ask you to produce proof of like taxes and how much all of that is. And if you do not have a system in place that does all of that, you are going to have a really hard time figuring out, and your tax person is not going to be very happy with you, because then that means they also have to do a lot more work because none of that was done the correct way, right? When you normally sell things, sales tax is added onto it, and that sales tax is the exact amount that you should be sending over to the state every quarter. State sales tax should be paid every quarter. You should not wait to the end of the year to pay your state sales tax. Every single quarter, you should send them a check. If they owe you any money, they'll send it back. Pay your state taxes, state sales tax every quarter. You always want to make sure that you are reinvesting your money into your business. I know it is really easy, really easy to get excited about making money, to get excited about putting that money in your pocket. But I suggest at least the first 6 months of your business, unless it takes off and you just making $1 million up front, you should always invest all your money back into your business. I don't think you should be paying yourself at least until the 6 month time frame, because there's so many things that go into this, and you want to make sure that, like your taxes, that you're good, right? You don't want to start paying yourself and then you don't have money for your taxes, or you don't have money for your LLC, or you don't have money for any of the myriad of other things that you need to pay for simply because you decided to pay yourself and then go on vacation with the money. No, put that money back into your business. Even if it's sitting in your business bank account, invest it back into your business. The more money that you have in your bank account, the better your credit score is going to be, the more options for business credit you're going to have, the better done score you're going to get. And once again, business credit is easy. It is easy to get a business credit card. It is easy to go get a car or something to put on your business credit, right? So don't mess it up, because it is such a valuable resource. And then you want to make sure that you have a great onboarding system, whatever that looks like, right? And I know you're like, but what? I suggest doing it even for products. For example, now, of course, it depends on what the cost of the product is. But if you have a luxury product, I would definitely suggest doing it. And I know a lot of people don't. I know a lot of people just have websites where you just click and you just click purchase and they let you buy it. I don't do that on my website, right? You have to submit a ID verification to purchase off of my website, and the system will literally run your ID through the verification process, and then you'll be able to purchase from me. And the reason behind that is because people are scammers, right? So if the scammer does not want to provide me with their ID, great. I don't have to worry about a chargeback. But when I get a chargeback, chargebacks do two things. One, we get penalized for chargebacks on a monetary value, right? There's a fee that we have to pay every time we get a chargeback. In addition to that, we get an actual like X on our bank account record because of the chargeback, right? So to avoid me getting chargebacks, I just make everybody follow a little bit more of a more meticulous process. But I haven't had anybody complain about it, and I think everybody can appreciate knowing that my business is also real and legit and ethical, because I'm doing things that other people are not. I think people will appreciate that. You just have to give them the chance, you know, to do so. So that's step 7. So let's go back over all 7. So get clarity is step 1. Set up all your legal stuff. That's step 2. Step 3 is your branding. Step 4 is figuring out your online presence. Step 5 is figuring out what you're exactly selling, what your main specific offer is. Step 6 is your marketing plan. And step 7 is your sales and growth strategy. So those are the 7 steps. I know there were things in there that we talked about. I'm actually going to post this live for everybody who missed it, so that just in case you did, you can hear, you know, catch all of the steps. If you did stay on for this live and you're interested in my business checklist, make sure that you drop your info below. I'll make sure your email address. I'll make sure to send it over, or you can send me a DM with your email address, and I will send over the business startup checklist. But yeah, some other things that I want to mention is technically not like a part of setting up a business, but it's super, super, super important. Setting business goals. A lot of people don't have goals for their business. They just kind of run it on a day-to-day basis. You need monthly goals and you need yearly goals. Business coaching. Coaching is so important because other business owners have gone through things that you haven't gone through. I know millionaires who have a business coach who's a multimillionaire. I know a multimillionaire who has a business coach that's a billionaire, right? There's always somebody who has leveled up higher than what you have. So everybody needs a business coach, right? The millionaire wants to know how they get to 10 million, right? And the 10 millionaire wants to know how they get to 100. And the person with 100 wants to know how they get to 1 billion, right? So there's always new information that you can learn. There's always somebody who you can learn from. If you don't have a coach, get one, right? My clients, I tell them all the time, I'm with you for forever, right? Let's say you did your program with me 4 years ago, but you have a question about something new. Call me, email me, right? This is a lifelong relationship outside of the program, right? So make sure that you get somebody who is aligned in your vision, who is aligned in your goals, and who wants to see you win. That also goes into the reason why I have a one-on-one program. I don't do group sessions. I don't do recorded sessions because my program and my sessions are completely designed for you. How can I pre-record something if I don't talk to you? How do I know what you need? Right? How can I put you in a group with 50 other people with 50 different businesses and get you information that's going to be valuable for you? I don't feel like that is always, the best thing. Some people learn differently. So figure out what that is and make sure you really, hone in on it. Find you a mastermind, find you a business coach that really aligns with you and work with them. Also, something I tell people all the time is keep track of your finances. When there's money coming in, it's real easy to be like, oh, I got it. And you just start buying stuff. The number one thing that people make the mistake of is buying too much inventory. Oh, we just made $100,000 last month. We could definitely buy $50,000 in inventory. And then what happens next month when we got World War III? And you got $50,000 in inventory sitting in your house. And then what happens if, God forbid, like a bomb hit your house and then the $50,000 in inventory gone? Ain't nobody buying it and you don't have the inventory. You have to think about the things. We have to be very, 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 very aware of where we are on a weekly basis, a monthly basis financially. That is probably one of the biggest reasons a lot of businesses go under because they just don't know where they are. They don't know what they owe. They don't know what they're bringing in compared to what they're putting out. And that's why I said hold off on as many of those extra expenses as you can, as long as you can, because there's no need to spend $40 a month on a website if your business isn't due to be open for another 2 months. It's just $80 you're throwing down the drain for no reason. You give the $80 to a homeless person, you know what I'm saying? You could buy somebody in the shelter, food for $80. There's so many things you could do with the money. It's no need to waste it. You also need to schedule time to do check-ins with yourself. Right? From a mental perspective, how are you doing? How does this feel? Is it going well? Do you feel like everything is in alignment? Just check in with yourself. I feel like a lot of times we check in with other people. We don't check in with ourselves. We don't make sure that we're okay. We don't make sure that we have everything that we need. So just make sure you take the time to do that. Check in with you. Check in to make sure this is still something that you want to do. Check in to make sure this is still something that is in alignment, that makes sense financially and physically. Make sure, podcasts are great. There's lots of financial podcasts, business podcasts. Make sure you check out them. Also, follow me, your girl. Follow me on Melanie Travel Bay on everything: YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Threads. I'm also gonna start back on my other YouTube channel, which is 7 Streams to Success. So make sure you check that out as well. It's gonna have all of my business advice on there, all of the tips and tricks and tools, similar stuff like this, but we're gonna go like deep. Like I'm gonna do a deep dive on like business credit and all that type of stuff. So definitely make sure you check that out. Make sure you guys subscribe to my YouTube